This is Thames from London. The local headlines follows the world news now from ITN at 10.
Mr. Scargill and the NUM fined for contempt of court. The Tories propose life for drug pushers. Alan Lake, Diana Dawes' widower, shoots himself. Oxfam launches a campaign for 1 million volunteers. And how to have fun learning science.
Mars, northwest sector, scan 7 complete.
The nuclear fission practical was the toughest.
Commencing scan east.
Maybe I don't like loud noises. Did you have to attend Solar Assembly as translator?
Yes.
They love the sound of their own voices, don't they?
Reading on 7725. Positive.
There it is. Looks like a cloud.
I've never seen a cloud like that.
But maybe one of those freak storms. Mars gets them at this time of the year, you know.
Then it would be something on the weather computer.
It's over Colony Research Base 4.
Call up their scanning tower.
No picture. No sound.
Let's move in for a closer look.
But aren't we supposed to call Tri-S and get permission?
Come on, Tempo. Call Tri-S.
Cloud's now stationary over base 4, sir.
If it is a cloud.
Sir, the computer confirms that it is a cloud.
Yeah, I know it's a cloud. I want to know what sort of a cloud and why. Machines, there's a lot to be said for the old days.
2511 on monitor, sir.
2511 to Tri-S. Do we have permission to land and find out what's happening, sir?
No, Tempo.
But, sir, we can easily get...
Don't argue.
Sir.
You'll like him when you get to know him better.
Really?
He used to be a solonaut.
Maybe it was easier then.
He must have heard you. The gyro's gone. Changing to secondary drive.
You have a reading of 3/6.
Compensator.
3/5, 5 and rising. 3/6, 5 and rising. We're being drawn into that cloud.
Operating gravity booster. Now.
3/7. Panels 27 and 32 arcing.
Gravity boost now responding.
There's a braking circuit, 8 and 15. 3/8. Fire control operating.
I can't hold her.
Look! I'll inform Tri-S.
Well, I think obviously Star Wars is the thing that's most in the news and the thing that most excites the imagination and indeed the anxieties. What do you think would be the result of this whole Star Wars project?
If we were so foolish as to go ahead with it, I think the net result would be, after the expenditure of $1 million, that we would be far less safe than we are today. The President's own technical advisors make it clear that this proposed shield, after 30 years of development, would be exceptionally leaky, would let through enough Soviet warheads if the Soviets chose to attack the United States to utterly destroy the United States and perhaps to bring about nuclear winter as well. The Soviets can outfox the system, underfly it, overwhelm it. It is ruinously expensive. It abrogates a large number of treaties that the United States has solemnly signed. And in addition, it is likely to bring about nuclear war itself if the Soviets were to believe, as they say, that it is a part of an American plan for a first strike. Apart from that, it's a terrific idea.
I'm saying, probably one of the most cheerful prognoses I've heard in a long time.
Well, we have the option not to do it, I suppose, in which case things could be still more
From
cheerful.
your knowledge, do you think it's likely that President Reagan will do it?
No, I don't think so, but presidents come and go, and we're talking about decades, so I think
Obviously, you feel that the money spent on that could be more usefully spent on many other things, but among other things, on exploration, further exploration of outer space.
Certainly, but $1 million is considerably more than the total debt owed by all third world nations to the West. It is something like half the national debt of the United States. It is an extraordinary amount of money. It's an incredible amount of human good that could be done for that. And a tiny fraction of Star Wars could purchase the most extraordinary sorts of ventures in space, including manned and womaned missions to the planet Mars and elsewhere.
But do you think that people are as excited by that prospect as they used to be? It all seemed to have gone a little bit cold, hasn't it? Shortly after they found that there was nobody on the moon, and as you told them, there wasn't anybody on Mars as well, it all got a little quiet, didn't it?
Well, I think if you look, for example, at the Voyager robot explorers of the Jupiter and Saturn systems in 1979, 1981, after the events you just described, you find an extraordinary outpouring of public interest all over the world. The planet Saturn was on the cover of Time and Newsweek and other magazines in America and here. We are an exploratory species. We wish to understand who we are, where we are, what our surroundings are. When you study other worlds, you learn much more about your own. You provide an aperture to a benign future. And all of this can be done at the tiniest fraction of what we seem quite happy to spend on military systems. To give you an example, in March of next year, Halley's Comet will be coming by the Earth for the first time since 1910, and it will be greeted by a flotilla of 5 spacecraft from 20 nations, including the United Kingdom, but not including the United States. Why not the United States, the pioneer in solar system exploration in the history of the human species? Why not? Because a Democratic and a Republican administration decided it was too expensive. How expensive would it have been? It would have cost exactly as much as a single B-1 bomber, for which the United States is committed to purchase 100. 99 would have compromised national security.
Listening to the way you tell us, do they listen to you in the White House, though?
Obviously not.
Yes.
My girl and my bomb.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the end of our film. However, something very much like this could happen at any moment. We just thought we ought to prepare you and more or less put you in the mood. Thank you. And now back to our story.
5. I have another throw. 1, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I bomb Philadelphia. Who owns Philadelphia?
I do.
Ha! You owe me 500 heavy bombers.
Here. Now it's my turn. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take a chance. Go to salt mine. Fortunately, I can pay a fine instead. I get Saudi Arabia. Not a bad game.
I agree. It's called diplomacy. It's my chauffeur's, actually. Jolly good fun, I think.
My throw? Yes.
Well, having said all that, and having been in favour of peace at a moment when peace could have been made with our British Empire intact, he was then arrested. And a few weeks later, I was arrested.
But you couldn't have been very surprised to be arrested, because if you are saying in a country during the war that you're in favour of the opponent, in a sense.
You're in favour of peace?
No, that you're in favour of the opponent.
We never said that. We never said that. We said we were in favour of making peace with the British Empire intact. And that would have been possible.
What was the effect of your imprisonment on you? Were you bitter? Were you disenchanted? What?
Well, bitter, did you say?
Yes.
I don't think I was exactly bitter. Prison is extremely disagreeable. Holloway was a very old-fashioned, condemned, I believe, criminal prison. And while we had certain advantages, because as we'd never been charged with an offence, and as we never had a trial, we had the status, as it were, of prisoners on remand, so that we could wear our own clothes and so forth. But nevertheless, it was extremely uncomfortable and very unpleasant.
What sort of made you put up with it then, as stoically as you seem to have done in your book?
Nothing else to be done, really.
Was it because you felt you were innocent?
I knew I was innocent.
And did you think that the government was wrong to put you in prison at that time?
Thought they were monstrous, yes.
Is that why you said you'd like to shoot Winston Churchill and the rest of them?
That sounds very intemperate. No, what happened was a bomb fell on the prison and the water mains were broken. And we were locked up in the most disgusting situation where all the lavatories were broken, the whole of the plumbing system didn't work anymore. It was unbelievably disgusting, the smell and the filth. And we were given a little glass of water, which was all they could do each. And you had to decide whether to drink it or wash in it. And we were all
What did you do? What did you do?
I washed. I said I drank a sip or two. Anyway, it just so happened that the day all this occurred, my solicitor came and I was sent for a visit, you see. And so then I said, it's unbelievable. You can't imagine how revolting it is in there. And something would have to be done, otherwise the women will all get typhus, because, I mean, it really was dreadful. So then he said, he was a dear old boy, and he said, isn't there some member of the government you might know that I could appeal to for you? So then I said, burst out, I said, I know all the Tories, beginning with Churchill. The whole lot ought to be shot. But, I mean, I didn't mean to, but I was furious at that.
Winston Churchill was a cousin of yours, wasn't he?
Yes, his wife was.
And did he get to hear that you were out to shoot him, so to speak?
Apparently he knew of it, because years later somebody saw him and he said, oh, I'm afraid Diana wanted to shoot me during the war. Well, of course I didn't a bit, so I wrote him a letter saying that it was just the circumstances were so foul. I'm sure if he'd been in such circumstances, he'd have longed to shoot me. I mean, if I'd put him there.
I was writing a song this morning about a song I was writing yesterday, and I'll be writing a song tomorrow about the song I'm writing now. But don't I give ya trivia all day long? Don't I give ya trivia songs? Whoa, 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 don't I give you trivia, yeah.
Good evening. Mr. Scargill tonight insisted that the NUM strike is official and will continue, even though he and his union have both been fined today for saying just that. The High Court in London imposed a fine of £1,000 on Mr. Scargill personally, with 28 days to pay, and a fine of £200,000 on the National Union of Mine Workers. The union has 14 days to pay. Both also have until next Monday, before the fines come into force, to give them an opportunity to change their attitude. Mr. Justice Nichols said willful disobedience had been committed by a large and powerful trade union bent on saying it's untouchable. If court orders are seen to be set at naught, he said, where is the rule of law? At NUM headquarters, Mr. Scargill gave his response.
The union will continue to do all in its power to win maximum support for the strike and reaffirms that there should be no crossing of official picket lines.
So the miners' president tonight not having been sent to Pentonville, but still exuding defiance by reading out exactly the same statement that had brought him into contempt. As with past hearings, he'd not attended court in the morning, nor was the union legally represented. Outside, a petition with 500 signatures, among them Tony Benn and Ken Livingstone, all saying they wanted to be in contempt with Mr. Scargill. But the petition never got to Mr. Justice Nichols. In court, the judge said statements by the union and Mr. Scargill last week in Blackpool that the strike was still official, in defiance of the court's order that it was unlawful, were a clear contempt of the court. He said the NUM knew exactly what it was doing. Although the NUM leaders had deeply held views about the strike which are to be respected, the judge went on, I am driven to the conclusion that the President sought deliberately and repeatedly to negate the purposes of the order. I would be failing in my duty to uphold the law if I did not recognise such conduct. The judge said he'd give the union till Monday to come to the court. If not, the fines would be enforced. After the judgment, one of the two Yorkshire miners who brought the case said he was happy the law had been upheld, but unhappy he'd had to take his own union to court.
We didn't go through what we've gone through with the law, with the ruling, to get the ruling, for Mr. Scargill just to turn around and say I ain't taking no notice of it. He's got to be seen to take notice of the law of the land.
But he won't.
Well, then he must suffer the consequences.
And that means going to prison?
I'm not the judge. I'm just the chap that's asking for the ballot, that's all.
The first reaction from the NUM came from Vice President Mick McGahey in London.
My goodness. They must think we've got all that money.
Yes.
You can't take the breach off a Highlandman. I don't think Arthur's got any either.
And what about the union itself? What about 200,000?
Oh, we're skint.
4 hours later, Mr. Scargill came out of his Sheffield office to read the statement that had landed him in court in the first place yet again.
This means that the strike action in the British coalfield is official, in accordance with National Rule 41. The union will continue to do all in its power to win maximum support for the strike and reaffirms that there should be no crossing of official picket lines. This official strike action will continue until the National Coal Board withdraws its pit closure programme, agrees to keep open those pits currently under threat, and provides a basis for resolving this dispute in line with Plan for Coal. Signed, National Coordinating Committee, National Union of Mineworkers.
Will you go back?
A clear indication that neither Mr. Scargill or the union intend to pay the fine voluntarily. If they don't, like the NGA in the Eddie Shah case, the union's assets will be sequestered and Mr. Scargill's personal bank account or other assets like his car could be seized too. At about this time last year, the NUM nationally was thought to have about £9 million. That's probably been halved by the expenses of the strike. Although what's left easily covers the 200,000, the problem is that if the union doesn't purge its contempt, it could, like the NGA, face fine after fine, eventually leading to bankruptcy. That could be added to by the news tonight that a group of miners intends suing their union for loss of earnings. Although today's events cast something of a shadow over tomorrow's resumed peace talks at ACAS, the threat of massive fines must put extra pressure on all sides to make a big effort to try to make them successful.
The Haldane Society of Socialist Lawyers said the judge had disregarded the interests of 54,000 striking Yorkshire miners in favour of 40 who were working. And the Labour QC, Lord Gifford, joined 3 other barristers to say the court action was a misuse of the law for political reasons. Lord Gifford spoke on ITN's Channel 4 News.
I'm accusing the judiciary of exercising their discretion in a way which comes down always, almost invariably, on the side of the employer against the worker. There is this principle which says you have a discretion. And when something has been going on for 7 months, it really is ridiculous to declare it somehow to be outlawed. And to anybody who says, in the words of the order which I have in front of me, to declare it as official or anything to the like effect is breaking the law and then liable to jail and fines.
Let me
We really are
finally
not
come
in the
back to-
real world.
Bye, darling.